Hello and welcome to another episode of The Zoo. Today we're going to talk about BMC's latest innovation, HR case management. This is where IT and HR meets and have this wonderful app that the consumer, not the employee, but the consumer, which is today the employee, the customer, the partner, wherever we are, loves to use. Here to make me understand what this is all about is Steve Terry, all the way from Dubai. Welcome, Steve.
Thanks, Alf. Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
So let's start from the beginning. You're not born and raised in Dubai, but you did end up there recently. What brought you to a warmer climate like that?
As you can tell from my twang. Yeah, so I've been with BMC since January 2000. And actually, I did a lot of consulting and education work out in the Middle East. And a role came up, and BMC are always really good about sort of letting employees have exposure. And I was lucky enough, it's been 9 years now, lucky enough to get exposure 9 years ago, and I've been here ever since.
And you love it down there? It's different.
Yeah, it is different. You know, every place has its pros and cons, but this place has certainly got enough pros to keep me here for the last 9 years. So, yeah, I like warm weather, even though I'm in a jumper already. But yeah,
I was going to say, what was the temperature there right now outside?
Maybe it is a little bit cool at the moment, maybe 14 degrees Celsius.
So it's a cool, and having lived in the tropics, Miami Beach and stuff like that, so 14 is wonderful. It's like you love that day because you get to wear more than a t-shirt. Here in Tahoe, it's -5, so thank you.
Sorry.
That's all right. You have been on HR case management since its inception and have seen it being built by a partner called MIT, being brought into the BMC family and amplified with the additional services around us. In short terms, what are we talking about? What is HR case management? Beyond our product, what's the concept of HR case management?
Quite simply, it's a service center or contact center for HR-related issues. So it's very simplest. Just think of it as a service desk, but for HR-specific issues. It's more than just a service desk, but it's really about the contact center. The great thing about it is that it integrates with your HR management systems and your human capital management systems. So it's actually complementary to those more strategic HR focused solutions. So it's really got its own place there. And the thing about it is that when we actually when we did our due diligence, we spoke to our existing customers and we were asking them, how are you expanding the Remedy platform? What are you doing outside of IT? And the number 2 sort of option was we like to do HR with it. And the problem was that they were doing it to various sort of levels of success. And so this application's actually, it's built around best practices. Colin did a lot of work with the consultancy Tower Watson, and they came up with the sorts of essences that, that a HR specific contact center really needs. And so there are nuances and differences from an IT service desk.
But at the end of the day, it is the same thing, right? A thing happens. I need my laptop fixed. I need increase my benefit contribution. That becomes a thing, and multiple people need to touch it, and that's why service desk cases and HR cases, hence case management, work quite well together. Or the same, they go down the same tunnel, going to different people, but down the same process tunnel.
Yeah. There's the same nuances, but things are different. If you think about a lot of the time with HR, it's really about process and policy. Whereas with IT, it's really about assets. When you think about any time you've actually raised an issue with HR, it's often really personal, potentially sensitive, and even confidential. So you have to be able to protect that data within the right elements of the HR teams as well. So we have a lower level of security and visibility model that protects. The other thing as well is if you take a scenario, say somebody's leaving the company, there may be different HR functions that actually need to get involved. So there's a lot more multi-sourcing where different teams have to work in parallel. Whereas, having ITIL, the process is very much more defined within the IT space. So there are nuances, and that's why it's not just as easy as tailoring a service desk to simply do HR functions. There's really a lot more to it.
And that's where a lot of our customers have gone wrong, right? They try to build this themselves versus just take what pros, real experts in the industry have done and put it on platform. So what's the major values that this brings? So if I install this, does my HR department become more efficient? Does the customer become happier?
Yeah, well, in short, yes. But I mean, what it does is it helps you standardize processes. We get those organizations, the HR organizations, that are looking really to move to a shared services model. And you know, cost cutting is really sort of table stakes. This is really about sort of standardizing the process so that you can offer context relevant information in the right channel and the right format. If we think about how many generations, we've got 3 generations working side by side. We need to be able to deliver the HR processes and policies out there. So a lot more knowledge-based content being delivered to ideally help people help themselves. The ethos for HR case management is really different from a service desk. It's not about logging cases. It's really, if I can give you the information to help yourself and you never have to raise a case, that's perfect. So
would that ever happen, do you think? Do you think we're going to get, and in IT we talk about this a lot, so HR is even more exciting because maybe some of our audience, even though are IT professionals, we care less about that. We do care about our life, our money. HR case management is very much that. It's not so much my insurance, it's my kids' insurance. Make sure that it's up to date is the best one. Will this improve? Will we make the average person more aware about their HR benefits? Because a huge problem and I'm speaking to America, so I'm sure it's the same in the world, but it's not that companies are not offering services from an HR perspective. It's that we, the employees, are not aware. We just don't know.
Absolutely. It's that visibility. And you think about sort of, when we look at the HR staff, often they spend all their time firefighting and answering cases and queries and issues because we as employees, we never know where to search for it, or the information isn't always clear. So making that information available means that the HR staff can focus on more strategic functions, like going, you know what, I want to make sure the employees are happy so that improves, improves employee retention. We provide a better service to the employees, and then ultimately they're happier. And if they have issues, they log them and know that, and have their expectations managed more quickly, so ultimately as employees, we're more productive for the business. And that's really where it comes about.
When I look at this, I look at HR case management being the first bridge by going both ways from consumerism to technology, enterprise technology. Right now, there's this gap, and so many great things have happened on enterprise since the last 2 years, catching up with consumers. It used to be an abyss, this night and day. When Sunday evening ended and you had to go to work on Monday morning, you had a totally different IT infrastructure, for the worse. For the first time ever, for the worse. Is HR case management that bridge who actually bring consumerism into the enterprise because it's now fun? Eventually I wear my Fitbit, right? And eventually I'm hoping the HR case management is going to have that integrated. So I go there, I can see everything I've done, all the money I paid, but I can also see how the incentive, the gamification of me walking up the stairs versus take the elevator, so on, being part of my life. Is that going to happen in HR case management? Is that what we're heading, that eventually my boss will know that I have a heart attack before I actually have a heart attack?
I mean, healthcare is obviously amazingly important, and the gamification aspect of taking the likes of Fitbit and other personal sort of mobility devices are hugely important. It's actually something we're exploring right now to see how best we can integrate that to those sorts of devices to make a more rounded healthcare program to combine that for companies. we're in the early stages at the moment, but we've been coming up with some interesting ideas and some fun things. So really watch this space with regard to that.
What type of company should buy this? HR case management from BMC or from any other vendor? Is that for every, or do you have to be a large corporation, mid-sized?
So yeah, I mean, I think that it really depends on the size of your number of employees, and really on the HR staff and how and whether you outsource any sort of HR functions to your to external companies like benefits and total rewards as an example. Typically medium-sized companies start getting benefit of this, but we've also got some larger companies like the Adobes and the Citrixes of this world that are using this product. We've got, you know, companies like the BBC in the UK that are literally just rolling out as well through to
BBC.
Likes, you know, yeah. So
the BBC.
Yes, indeed.
So they're going to have to claim their PTOs through an American-based vendor. I love that. That's so deep.
What? Yeah.
Because
indeed, I mean,
you get
the
the
good thing
part.
is well, the good thing is we have, obviously, we offer this both, you know, in the cloud and on premise. So we've actually got data centers around Europe as well as the US. So, you know, we can house those different scenarios.
I never see us as a American vendor, although that's how the world perceives us, because guys like us are not American vendors. So, but it's funny. Tell me this: when I look at the evolution of technology in general, and I look at the value that HR case management will bring to my corporation, and the reason I asked that question about who does it fit, because mobility was always, oh, if you're a big company, you need it. No, actually, if you're a small company, you need to have better processes because there's only so many of you. So you need to be very efficient, very much like military special forces work. Is this opening? So are we doing, after HR case management, to go on a tangent, are we doing facility management? Are we doing other apps in that world? If I'm a BMC customer, or if I'm used in the space of IT, and I see more and more vendors talking about this platform where apps are being plugged in, what are we doing? What are we planning to do?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. So we bought the application really about its HR knowledge and its best practices. So the great thing is that we've got a lot of rich, focused content. But actually, the application itself, because it's built on Remedy, I mean, you know, it's very flexible to adopt and to adapt. And actually, we've got existing customers that use HR case for much more than just HR related issues, and they have expanded along the different shared services sort of routes as well. The other really nice thing about this is by integrating with our sort of end user portal, it means that, say for example, you get a new joiner, they've now got a one-stop portal to be able to get their IT requests and their HR requests from one place. Then you think about new joiners, they always have the toughest time, and you know, that's really the first bridge for showcasing the experience to that end user, going, can I get on with all the IT? Have I got all the information I need at my fingertips? So if you can combine those HR related issues, whether you're doing things like changing your 401ks, or you're asking for employment letters and references, through to, you know, joining the local gym, changing your healthcare provider, all of those functions, and then going, actually, I need an app to be able to allow me to do this when I'm on the road, so that I can download.
Well, it's not even that. Software. You don't even need to be on the road. It's like, if it's not an app, why am if you don't have an app, you don't exist. It used to be, if you don't have a website, you don't exist. If you don't have an app, you don't exist. And I'm not talking about us, who's been around the rodeo for way too long. It's time to go home. But for the other kids who come in, our children, and the millennials who's standing in line to get our jobs, to them it's like, okay, yeah, that's great, I get it. Show me the app. So is that a selling point? Or is that what people see in HR case management a little bit, like the future of you can actually put HR in a comprehensive way, not just some kind of web front, in a comprehensive way on an app? Does that resonate?
Most definitely. It was, to be honest, it was when I went around and I interviewed some of the customers. Column had a web-based sort of mobile capability, and unfortunately that just didn't cut it. So we so the first thing we did was to make an application capability and to leverage, my IT in order because that's what customers were asking for. They wanted something that was easy to use rather than resizing across their smart devices to try and work out where they were entering the information correctly. So, it was an app or nothing, really.
Love it. So sum it up in 3 bullets for the viewers. Why is HR case management or BMC a good thing to look at? I'm not saying for you to buy it, but at least have a look at it.
So it's built on HR best practices first and foremost. We're also bringing in all the lessons that we've learned from an IT capability. So we're bolstering those HR best practices with technology advancements such as the mobile applications of this world, such as great reporting and analytics capabilities, so that it's easy for HR professionals to actually configure this themselves. We've got a drag and drop process designer that really makes life easy to build solutions so that we consumerize it and make it available to the end user in a matter of minutes rather than sort of hours and days. So so the 3 things: it's built on best practices, it's got some IT technology best capabilities, market leading capabilities that made Remedy the market leader, and it's so quick and easy to configure and adapt to your own organization.
Perfect. Great. Well, thank you, Steve. I really appreciate you taking time being in the zoo, talking about HR case management. I think it's a great app. We're rolling it out here at BMC, so I can't wait to start using it myself. So thank you so much.
Thanks ever so much, Alf. Thanks.
For the rest of you out there, take care. Be safe. Bye-bye.
Cheers.